Today I'm talking to Peter Kuritzis, who is the principal at Ray White Woodville in South Australia. Peter has been with the Ray White Group since he started his career 28 years ago and opened the doors on his own agency 21 years ago. He also holds the title for the longest consecutive elite or chairman's elite agent, which puts him among the very best agents in our group. So today is going to be a masterclass in creating amazing experiences for your customers and longevity in your business. Thank you for your time today, Peter.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite.
Okay, so Peter, 21 years elite, but much longer with us.
Yep.
Tell me how long you've been with Ray White.
I commenced my career in '96, so that's 28 years now. Or in June it'll be 28 years.
And that was around the time, some people will know the history of Ray White in South Australia, but that was kind of around the time when Ray White was coming to South Australia. It wasn't a big name in South Australia then.
No, that's right. I'm pretty sure it was 1992 or 93 that Ray White came into SA.
Yeah.
Under the leadership of Nick George at the time.
Yeah.
And I had never thought about getting into real estate, but my brother got in a couple of years before myself, and he introduced me to the business and said you should try this out. So I went and joined him for a couple of years and loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
It was incredible, but a very, very different market back in the mid to late 90s.
You would have seen many, many market cycles over the time.
Right.
And we're going to get into that, but interesting, you mentioned your brother. He started first and then you joined, but you actually were already working in business together before real estate. Tell us about the past.
Yeah, well, the background is my family were in small businesses, fruit and veg shops, little continental shops, the typical Greek business family we were.
Yeah.
And things went well for many years, and then after a while we became victims to the recession that we had to have, according to Paul Keating, and that we took a dive in business and basically lost everything.
Wow.
And then that's when my brother got into real estate.
Yep.
And within a couple of years he was a top salesperson. So he said to me, I was working in a mate's supermarket at the time, in my mid-20s, and he said, look, you need to get into real estate. This is a great gig.
Yep.
So I did, and the first couple of years was a struggle.
Yeah.
But once I found my routine and my process and everything, it just skyrocketed from there.
Well, I mean, you spoke about the market. It was a really tough market, and the fact that your family had been hit by the recession. So there would have been that really difficult marketplace where people were selling for less than what they paid, people having like mortgage strain. So that was probably a great learning ground for how to become a good real estate agent, right?
Well, it was. There was about 5 or 6 agents in the office, and everyone was getting sick of doing open inspections and not meeting anybody. So I thought the only way I'm going to build up a buyer-seller list was to basically get out there as much as I could. So I actually did everyone's open inspections. I did 8 on a Saturday, 8 on a Sunday.
Smart.
And I would meet 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
So it was very, very hard to transact and put deals together. But slowly the market started shifting, and I was managing to sort of place people into property, and then it just grew from there.
Yep. So help them buy, and then eventually the sellers revealed themselves.
Absolutely.
Something that and people watching this interview wouldn't know, but you were someone who has been a big icon during my career. You were Peter Kuritzis when I started my career.
Sure.
And something that I remember hearing about you and witnessing as a growing and learning agent myself was just that your customer service, that the way you make people feel when they come to an open home and they meet you, you're just focused on them, you make them feel like the only person in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so where's that, is that always something you learn, or it's just who you are?
Oh, look, I just think that's something that I learned through business.
Yeah.
We were quite a close family growing up. We were always taught to be respectful and polite to people. Always say please and thank you.
Yeah.
And we just sort of grew on that. And through businesses, we were having businesses where we had anywhere between 1,000 to 1,500 customers a week.
Wow.
So that's pleasing a lot of people in a very short period of time. So I guess we just transitioned those morals and basic fundamentals in being a nice person in business, and
Yeah.
people just want to do business with nice people.
Yeah, and you mentioned those first customers came from leveraging the open inspections.
Yep.
So that was obviously something you learnt really early.
That's
I've
right.
got to find business from business.
That's right. That's right.
So you started in your brother's shop.
Yep.
He was the principal.
Yep,
And you were,
he was
how
the
many
principal.
years did you work for George?
For 3 years, I worked with him.
Yep.
And then I was in that office for about a year beforehand. Then George took it over. Then I was in for another 3 years, and then it was time to sort of transition out and start up my own business. I basically got a tap on the shoulder by the CEO at the time,
Yeah.
saying, "Hey, it's time.
Yeah.
You're the number one salesperson. We've got a few opportunities to open up some businesses.
Yep.
Where would you like to go?"
And Woodville was the answer for you.
Well, it was the only spot in the western suburbs that worked for me,
Yeah.
purely because back then we used to rely on local papers to build our profile. So this was the only position that was available for me to stay in that same paper.
Yeah.
So the transition from one office to another
Yep.
and not dropping off on my marketing was quite important. to
Because
me.
you'd built, you mentioned it was around, your brother had the office at Mile End, for people
Yep.
who know.
That's
And so
right.
you'd built your marketing around that area.
Yep,
And then
that's
so
right.
coming to Woodville, you sort of slowly dragged your marketplace across.
That's right.
With that dominance that you'd built in the Messenger, it would have been the Messenger
Yeah,
press.
the Messenger newspaper. That's right. That's
yeah,
right. You remember that, do you?
I remember the Messenger, yeah.
Yeah, it was a great tool for us back in the day. So
yeah.
and pretty much all of my schooling, all of my friendships, everyone I knew was in the western suburbs.
Yeah.
So it was quite easily to just transition over to this office, and
Keep
we
going.
basically didn't skip a beat. We just
Yeah.
went from salesperson. Within 2 weeks, we had a business open, just with my wife and myself, and we just went gangbusters, which was great.
Wow. Wow. And did you and Leah meet at work?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. So it was the classic receptionist, admin girl, and the salesperson, and we
You closed a good deal
we
that day.
closed the deal at a function, a
Yeah.
Ray White function. So
Yeah.
I've got Ray White to thank for that.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
yeah, it's great.
Did
So,
you know that you always wanted to be a business owner, or was that
well, I think
encouraged?
because we were in the family business from a young age, from early 20s,
Yeah.
I was just always
Yeah.
better off as a person giving the orders and taking the orders, basically.
Okay.
And not that we sort of give too many orders nowadays, but
Yeah.
it's just how I was sort of brought up, I guess. And,
Yeah.
and that's what I enjoyed doing, being someone that could direct people, lead people,
Yep.
and help them grow and develop.
So talk about the early years. You said it was just you and Leah. You
Yeah.
opened the doors. It would have been a really busy time. Did you have children then?
It was, no, we didn't
Yeah.
have children. We were getting married soon.
Yeah.
It's interesting, we didn't have a lot of money, so when we set up the office, we had about $25,000 that we bought second-hand computers, second-hand office furniture. I leased a little office across the road from here, about 50 square metres. Just wanted to keep it cheap to make
Yeah.
sure we were going to survive.
Yeah.
And we got through that really well. And
Yeah.
within a couple of years, we'd built up a team, and then this site here came on the market, and we bought it and moved over here. And
So how many years have you been in this site?
20 years now.
20 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
20
so
years.
so much stability
Yeah.
in your marketplace, and you do absolutely dominate the Woodville market and surrounding suburbs.
Yeah.
What's your market share in your most highly transacted suburbs?
Oh, look, it's over the years, it's sat between sort of 40 and 70%.
That's huge in a metro marketplace.
Yeah,
Absolutely
yeah.
huge.
And even all of the surrounding areas, we're always sitting between 20 to 40%.
So what do you, I mean, obviously longevity, time in market, great customer service, but what do you put that down to? If you were going to give a masterclass to someone around dominating a marketplace,
Sure.
what would that look like?
Well, I can remember when I opened the office, or when we opened the office, there were 3 really strong officers in Ray White, and they were all husband and wife teams. So, so if you can bring your wife or husband into the
Yeah,
business,
yeah.
or partner, it'd be a great idea.
Because you're both pushing forward together,
yeah,
making
you're
the
striving for the
sacrifice.
same outcome and making the same sacrifices together. And we were fortunate where Leah could have time off, be with the kids. I could have time off, be with the kids. So it was an easy way to balance out our life.
So have a good support squad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Support is everything.
Yeah.
So I really couldn't have done it without her by my side. It just there were too balls in the air, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been able to juggle them. So,
Yeah.
so she was
amazing.
great for that.
And what about the fundamentals of what you do day to day? I mean, it's you probably don't even realise what you do now because it's just happening. But you know,
That's
you've listed
right.
one today. You're going to go and list 2 more. Like, you're running a high volume. You'll sell over 100 properties a year.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you think you do really well, or you did really well in those early days when you're opening the doors and you're building market presence? What do you think were the important things that cut you through?
I think the most important things were to ask the right questions at open homes.
Right.
So many people would go out and do all these prospecting activities, door knocking, letterbox dropping, you know, getting involved with the community and so on. But you're dealing with only so many people that are wanting to transact in property at that point in time. So why not deal with people that are in real estate mode, that are getting out of their home, in their car, coming to an open home and want to talk real estate? So I basically focused on that, and there was not one person that would come through an open home where I wouldn't get a name, number, email address, find out where they live, and they will give it to you eventually. And if they don't want to give it to you, I still let them in. Like, I know some people, they just won't let people in. I think let them in and I'll have another crack on the way out.
Yeah, that's not part of your nice guy customer service
correct,
model.
correct.
It's not
Absolutely.
on brand.
Yeah.
Okay, how would you get my address from me?
Sure. So, Bianca, you've had a walk through the home. Does it suit your needs?
It's lovely, actually. Yeah, we're quite interested.
Excellent. When you say we, you and...
Oh, my husband, he couldn't make it down today.
Excellent. And what was his name?
He's John.
John, excellent.
Yeah.
Do you think John
Do you know
would like-
him?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The
He's been-
surname rings a bell.
He's been looking at a few. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you think if we made a time to show yourself and John through, we could do that in the next day or two?
I would like to do that, yeah.
All
That'd
right,
be good.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Could I just get some more details, Bianca? Your current address?
Okay, so you do it in that form. I'm a qualified buyer. What if I said I wasn't interested? What would you do then?
Yep. So if we sold the property tomorrow, would you be disappointed?
No, it's
No?
not for us.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Bianca, I've got a great database of people that are looking to buy and also people looking to sell. Would you like to be on that database to be notified about properties when they come up?
Okay, well, will you tell me about like off-market deals?
Yeah, predominantly
Okay.
off-market deals.
Yeah, sure.
You'd love one of those, wouldn't you?
We're missing out all the time.
Well,
It's
there's
so
only
hard.
one way to get on there, Bianca. I need all your details.
Okay,
And one of my team will stay in touch with you to keep you up to speed with things as
Great.
they come up.
great. So you're doing all of this when you're face-to-face at the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you talked about your team. When you're doing an open, will it be just you? Will you have a couple of people?
No,
at the open?
there'll be at least 2 of us there.
Yeah, okay. So you've then got time to have those conversations with
Correct.
those people who are
Yep,
interested.
Yep,
That's
absolutely.
amazing.
So I generally have someone to check people in.
Yep.
And as we're drifting around the home, I'll see who's interested and who's not.
Yep.
Who's behaving like a seller.
Yeah.
And it's just simple questions that I'll ask them to find out.
And a question that I've got for you, when you're so dominant and you've been here for 21 years, in this shop for 20 years, and you've got extraordinary market share, how many of the people who come to your opens do you already know?
Oh, at least 50%.
Yeah, okay.
At
Yeah.
least 50%.
So that makes it easier.
That's right. And
So you
it's-
know who you're targeting as well.
Yeah,
I've got
absolutely.
to get that one. I don't know them.
And it's great with these programs like Vault. You know, you just put their number in and bang, you just see
Yes.
how many homes have we seen you at. And
Yep.
once we re-qualify everyone, the guys will then add in all their information. If they've been to an auction, what they bid to,
Yep.
what they thought their budget was, do they have a house to sell?
Yeah.
You know, all the right criteria that we need.
How many times will you, like if I've come through the open home and maybe you haven't been able to connect with me at the open home, you
Yeah.
call me back, you still don't get me. How many times will you and your team chase me up?
Oh, every time.
Yeah, okay.
Or how many times throughout a campaign on a property?
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, okay.
So you'll get 3 phone calls, 3 SMSs.
Yeah, wow.
Okay,
Okay, so that's
so-
6 points of contact.
That's right.
Yeah, amazing.
And if you don't want to talk to us after that, well,
Yeah.
we don't want to talk to you either.
Yeah, okay, fair
So-
enough. So open homes were where you basically built your business out of those open homes when
Yep.
you were in front of people.
That's right.
Where you could make that first impression.
Yep.
And how do you track how many appraisals and listings that you would generate from each listing? Do you have a target number?
Oh, not for each listing.
Yeah.
However, when we do run through our stock board at the end of the month and our sales board, we know what the source of that was. And okay, we've got another 6 from our opens.
Yeah,
and
wow.
let everyone else go do their door knocking and
Yeah.
do their 1% letterbox drops and all
Yeah.
that silly stuff.
Yeah.
We'll just focus on the
All
dollar
the customers
productive
who've
stuff.
come forward and shown that they're in real estate mode.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. Okay, so build your business through your open homes. Something else that you've always been a really big proponent of is the auction method.
Yep.
So this, you've always dominated in the field of auctions. You do a high volume of auction listings, you sell a lot by auction, you get good number of registered bidders. You've done in-room events for years.
Yeah.
Why do you do that? What does that mean for you?
Well, I was trained to do auctions from the start.
Yeah.
So I actually don't like private treaty sales.
Yeah.
I really feel that a condensed campaign, bringing unconditional buyers to a fore in the first 2 or 3 weeks of a campaign, it just streamlines everything. It helps you build capacity.
Yeah, okay.
So what I tend to do is have my auction planner set out for the year. So I project how many auctions I'm going to do for the year. I project how many I'm going to do for the month. And then basically I map out what I'm going to write for the year.
Wow.
So-
Because you know that those auctions are almost money in the bank.
Well, correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So I think it was, embarrassed to say now, 67 out of 71 we sold under the hammer last year.
Wow.
And we're running at 100% this year.
Wow.
So
So,
far.
do you know what was so interesting when I asked you about auction then? You didn't say anything about a method of sale or this property as an auction property. You spoke about it as a business shaping tool.
Absolutely.
So it's something that allows you to control whether we make a sale,
Yeah.
cash flow, days on market, all the things that you need to control to have a high volume business, which you do have a reasonably high volume business.
Yeah.
If I'm at the table and you're pitching to me, how do you present the auction method?
Well, we would have a conversation around price and marketing.
Yep.
Has there been a campaign that's attracted their eye?
Yep.
Are they keen for any particular method?
Yep.
In the current market, it's actually no conversation. Everyone wants to just
Yeah.
auction a home because of the great results that are being
Yep.
achieved.
Yeah.
Most people that talk to me about best offer or expressions of interest are the ones that have had a bad experience in auction or have been to a local auction that they didn't think went too well.
Yeah.
So I'll sit there and I'll explain to them why me and why my auctioneer and why would I want to go to auction.
Yeah.
And then I'll go into a few case studies, talking about some record prices that have been achieved. I'll always go into a listing presentation with a folder of my last 10 auctions and explain the story of each sale.
Yeah. Like a
And
case
then-
study.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And basically at the end of it, they say, okay, we're going to auction.
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
Great.
So you just need to stack all the benefits up in front of them.
And get them to choose it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You said that you are running on 100% auction clearance.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you make sure you get an auction to sell?
Yep. Well,
a
a
big
property
question,
sells when
sorry.
the vendor's ready to sell.
Yeah.
Okay. And the vendor's ready to sell when you've got the right price.
Yeah.
So I am very, very straight when I sort of appraise a property. I explain to the vendors that I'm not going to be like most agents that will just highball your price. I'll be the agent that's going to come in and give you a base price. And then that way, if we get over and above, well, fantastic, you're
Yep.
winning.
So they feel like they can really trust the appraisal price that you're giving them.
Yep, absolutely. And I'll get resistance. Oh, no, my home's worth more than that. And I'll explain to them, yes, it is worth more than that. And as I said, I want to give you a baseline. Because if you're going to go and buy another home or count on getting a certain amount for your home, I want to make sure that you've got some left over.
Right.
Okay? Not put you in a position where you're behind the 8 ball and then you're going to be sort of not saying nice things about me.
Yeah. Do you find that's helped? Because obviously, especially new agents who don't have market dominance and they really desperately want the listing, one of the levers that they'll pull is to tell a seller that their home is worth more
Yeah.
money than they maybe think it is.
Yep.
How did you get over succumbing to that pressure? Because that's a very real challenge that a lot of agents, they don't want to lose the listings because they say the wrong price to the seller.
Yeah, I think that the first thing that I noticed on myself was when I was losing a lot of listings, I was going in looking desperate.
Yeah.
I would go in and I'd push and I'd squeeze and I'd just do whatever I could to get that listing. And then after a while, people can feel that, they can sense it, and then they don't want to do business with you.
Yeah.
So I took a much calmer approach and just the way I just conveyed myself to the people was just, if I get this listing, fantastic. If I don't get it, I'm not fussed because I'm going to get the next one
Next.
around the corner.
Yeah.
And I think they could just sense that.
Yeah, that you were genuine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And it's really important to get the tone of your voice right when you're having these conversations. People want you to be genuine, and you really need to show how genuine you really are.
Yeah.
And how much you really want to help them, get the price that they want and get them to where they want to be.
Do you think that that's gotten easier over time? We've spoken about your consistent track record. You mentioned when you made the decision to buy the business in 2001, you were the number one agent.
Yeah.
And there's not been many years since
No.
that you haven't been number one principal or number one agent. So do you think that helps? Because you don't, like you say, you don't need the individual listing.
No, that's right.
You've got financial security. So do you think that helps you to...
Look, there's no question that it does, but you've got to go through all those hard yards to get to that.
Yes.
So what really makes it easy is knowing that 50% of my business comes from referrals.
Yeah, wow.
So I know that if I'm talking to someone, 1 out of 2 of them is going to be someone that's been referred to.
Yeah.
So it's an easier conversation.
Yeah.
And that's what you need to build yourself up to.
Yeah. And if they don't trust you, they trust their friend who has referred them in, which goes a long way.
Correct.
One of the other things that your market dominance and your history and proven track record has also helped, maybe it's always been there. I'm curious to know. You've held your fee.
Yep.
So some people may or may not be aware the South Australian market, because median sale price is one of the lower ones in the country, maybe not so much anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
It's grown a
That's
lot.
Right. That's right.
But we also have a really competitive environment around fees.
Yeah.
The fees are among some of the lower fees in Australia just because of those factors. But you have always held your fee, like you've been consistent on your fee card.
Yeah, sure.
Is it just as simple as a confidence issue again?
It is. And the worst thing you can do is basically go into that discount mode.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than that. You're actually telling that vendor that you're lacking skill.
Yeah.
And that you're lacking the ability to fight for them in terms of pricing.
I
Because if you're not
agree.
going to fight for yourself, how are you going to fight for them to get a great price?
Just curious. So similarly to how you pitch auction, I'm sure you just state your fee or fee doesn't even come up.
Yep.
How do you handle objection when you do get pushback about fee?
Oh, well, I'm very scripted in what I say. So as I'm going through my presentation, I touch on everything. You okay with that?
Yep.
I just want them to reconfirm back with me.
Yeah.
And then we'll run through, marketing, you okay with that?
Yeah.
This is the process, this is the calendar of events, and this is my fee, okay with that? And I just move on to the next thing,
Okay,
so I don't
yeah.
give them a chance to respond.
Which I think is what some guys do wrong, don't they? Because they're so scared and
That's right.
they really allow in the objection.
yeah.
But you kind of just move past it.
That's right. But it still happens to me today where, if I'm going into a really great listing and I know I've got some other agents going up against me, some good agents going up against me, I'll know when I've stuffed up because I pause for that 1 second too long when I got
see the
onto fee
weakness.
and that's right. And I think, damn.
Yeah.
So it still does happen to me.
Yeah.
But I am very, very well scripted and I do sort of pace myself through those questions
Yeah.
to show that I'm sort of presenting with confidence.
Yeah.
To that.
So you don't even, you've been doing it for so many years, you say you're scripted. How long did it take you to work out your listing presentation as it
Yeah.
sits today?
Okay, my listing presentation has never been so unscripted now.
Yeah,
I can basically bounce all over the place.
Yeah.
But I cover off on the key items, obviously.
Yeah.
But it took me about 3 years to get that right.
Yeah, just
So,
constantly refining,
that's
knowing
right.
it. And you
Yeah.
mentioned the word script, like I'm sure you don't sound scripted, but it's
Sure.
just knowing it so well
That's right.
that you can sort of go, as you say, freestyle
Yep.
from marketing to method or whatever it takes,
That's right.
depending on where the conversation's going.
Yeah, and I don't have a great listing presentation. All I do is take a few brochures of some properties I've sold recently. You'll show the potential seller realestate.com, domain.com, raywhite.com, perhaps a couple of sample videos that you've done recently, and that's basically my presentation.
Yeah. When we were doing the role play before, you dropped the old off-market sale, but we also then spoke about your focus on auction. How do you control getting a campaign to come to market and pay full marketing and see the process through? Is that something you're
Sure.
finding people are just, hey, the other agent said they could sell it off market.
Yep.
Can we just do that?
Well, the agents that are saying that are the ones that don't have the confidence in auction or the confidence in listing that property. 9 times out of 10, I'll go in there with a lot of confidence, thinking I'm walking out with an agency agreement. So I'll basically go straight in and talk auction straight away.
Yeah.
And then if I do get that resistance, like why auction and why not best offers, or I'm scared of auctions and I don't like auctions, I'll just break it down. Can I ask what the reason is that you're scared of auctions? Oh, the one down the street failed at auction. And I said, okay, let's just talk about the failure of that one. How long after auction did it sell? Oh, only 3 or 4 days or a week or 2. And I'll say, well, the auction is just part of the process. It's not just about the event.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I explain that process to them and they get it. They say, oh, okay, right.
Make it not so much about this big scary day where you're going to be forced to sell for a price you don't want to sell for. So teach them they're in control.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I very much speak about the process behind auction and why we do auction, and not so much about just the event on the day.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people focus. I mean, the people that are talking about auctions in terms of the market perception, they just think about auction day. Okay. We think about that process behind getting the vendor right, getting the buyer right, and then getting it sold on the day.
And you spoke about the buyers, because that's obviously the other part of the equation. How do you create an environment where you have multiple registered bidders rather than just, maybe 1 or 2, or taking an offer prior to and wrapping it up? How do you control that?
Sure. Well, we've got a process behind how we deal with all of our buyers. So we'll find out in our follow-up calls what their level of interest is, are they in a position to purchase straight away, and what their settlement terms would be.
Yep.
So in answering those questions, they let us know roughly where they're at, and we know whether they're ready to buy at auction or not.
Yep.
If we've got a vendor that's, say, at $1 million, we've appraised it at $950 to $1 million, and the buyers are coming in at making offers at $800 or $850, we won't knock them back. We'll say, okay, great, we'll take it to the owner and get a response for you. Once we get that response, we'll go back to the buyer and say, look, thanks for your offer. It's not enough to stop the auction, but let's see how we go at the auction.
And just keep them encouraged to come along. Right. So don't tell them you've got no hope.
That's right.
$200,000 off.
Correct.
Just sort of keeping them there, not lying to them.
No,
which
not
is
lying to them. No,
very reasonable and fair. But hey, it's an auction and coming out. That's great, because that's the real challenge I think a lot of agents face. Isn't it?
You're right.
Balancing that.
That's right.
Yeah.
But what tends to happen after that? They'll come back and say, oh, I'd like to up my offer.
Right.
And I'll say, look, let's not, because the conversation from the owner was based on the interest we've got. They just want to take their chances on the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's important to say, they'll take their chances on the day.
Yes.
So it doesn't push them away thinking that you want a lot more.
Yes.
It just sort of keeps them hanging in there.
Because that's the process, right? We're building the buyers up whilst, that vendor at $1 million may be totally unrealistic. It may never sell at that price. So you've just got to give them the opportunity for that 800 buyer to become a 900 buyer, and the vendor to see evidence with 5 bidders that's the best money the market can pay.
That's right.
And how do you, on auction day, so you'll have yourself and you'll have your whole team there?
Yep, that's right. Myself, my team, someone will be doing sort of some short videos and some photos. We'll have our coffee car there.
Yep.
Through summer now, we've got our coffee guy to set up a gelati car as well.
Hello.
So he's got a really cool little Fiat Bambino that he's decked out, which is really cool.
So good.
People love it.
How much do you think that spectacle of auction day has helped you build your brand and your dominance over the years versus maybe private treaty as a method of sale?
So much that I spent about 40 grand last year on
coffee
cars.
And gelati.
Yeah, exactly. But it's great. It creates a great buzz. I've got a really good guy that sort of manages the people.
Yeah.
That creates good conversation.
Gets the neighbours there.
Gets the neighbours there.
Yeah.
Gets them to remember the good coffee and the good agent and the great price.
So good.
Yeah.
Something I want to ask you about is your longevity. So we mentioned that you are the longest consistent elite or chairman's elite agent, which is our top performing group of agents in our company. Mm-hmm. Most agents don't do that. Most agents will peak at year 5. That's the stats, right? Yeah. Only 25% will go on to continue to grow.
Is that right? I didn't know those stats.
Most agents will go into plateau and then decline after 5 years. And if you think of all the Ray White Awards nights you've been to, you know, this guy's number one this year, maybe for a
you're
couple
right.
of years,
Yeah.
then someone else takes over for a couple of years, and people sort of cycle up and down. But you have been at the top consistently. Why?
Well, I don't know why. What's the real answer to that? Other than I love what I do.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I love the fact that I came out of being in a stage of life where we were broke and we didn't have anything, and then sort of started rebuilding, saw some of the financial benefits, built on that. I come from a good Greek family, so, you know, buy property, which we did, and then kept it going, and I just, I guess I love what I do, and I'll keep doing this. I'm almost 58, and I'll be doing this until I can't get out of my car anymore.
Yeah.
So,
And so what, you know, and I'm not going to ask you to talk about your personal wealth, but, you know, people would assume that you have established a level of comfort in your life. You've sent your kids to a great school.
Yep.
You've built yourselves a really secure future, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And many people will be like, I don't need to go and list 120 properties. How many properties will you list this year?
between 150 and 180.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah,
shortchanging
you
you
sold
there.
me short
Sorry,
there.
Peter. Like, what do you think drives you to keep? Is there like a super competitive part to your personality?
I am very competitive,
okay.
and I always have been.
Yeah.
But I just love the freedom that it gives me.
Yes.
So I work flat out for 5 months, and then we go on a mid-year overseas holiday.
Yeah.
I'll work flat out for a month, and then for 5 months, and then I'll have a month off over Christmas.
Yeah.
So we do these numbers in a 10-month period.
Yeah.
And then I'm into cars, and I like cars. I've been collecting cars for a few years. Probably not quite to the level of some of the other Ray White guys with their Lambos and that sort of thing.
Yep.
But you know, I
We
love
have to
my cars.
organise a
and
big national truck day one year and get
sounds
everybody.
great. Sounds great.
Yeah.
But I'm into my property and you know, some property development
Yeah.
that we do on the side as well. So
Yeah.
it's just sort of creating greater wealth for myself and my family. And
Yeah.
I think, you know, real estate is the only vehicle you can do that without having to go to uni for 6
Yeah.
or 7 years.
It's phenomenal, isn't it?
It is astounding.
And so you're just competitive, you like the freedom that it's giving you, and you're not going to stop anytime soon.
No, not at all. And we've just come back from a trip to Hong Kong with the Chairman's Elite, which you were at, no doubt. And just talking to people that are at a level of, you know, income of 5 to 10 million, and it's just astounding what they do. And just everyone says the same thing. They can't see themselves doing anything else other than real estate.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that's exactly how I live. And
Yeah.
and my wife lives, and my children now know that about us.
Yeah.
You know, there's sacrifices that we've made over the years, but it's helped them go to good schools and do a lot of cool
amazing.
things.
So someone who might be watching this interview who's perhaps early in their career, like you've already given us so much amazing advice, but what would you say to someone starting out to have success?
Don't think of the next 1 to 3 years.
Yeah, okay.
Think about where you're going to be in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
Look at people who have succeeded from this business, and not just done well. Look at like the top 1%. Don't look at mediocre. I've always looked at the top guys, and as soon as I opened up this office, I wanted to be number one. And I think there's been 3 or 4 years in the last 20 where I haven't been, and I didn't like it.
So you've got to keep going.
I didn't like it, so I've got to keep going.
Yeah.
So Leah said, get out there and list more property. so I do.
Yeah.
And not begrudgingly, I just love what I do.
Yeah.
So I
Not
think,
many people can say that after 21 years,
No, that's
or
right.
28 years in the industry.
Yeah.
Is that right? 28
Yeah,
and
28.
21 at the helm of
Yeah.
business ownership.
Yeah.
Not many people can say that. It's a true blessing, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I honestly believe I'm blessed.
Yeah.
And I've got great people in my team and great people around me, and it's just, you know, great to be in real estate, especially in this market. I mean, what we're going through right now is extraordinary.
Oh, it's been 5 years of unending growth, hasn't it?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
What's something that we might not know about you?
Something that you might not know about me.
We know
I'm
about
sure
the car,
there's lots
we know
that you
about the
wouldn't know
car
about
collection
me.
now.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I just for fun, I do some rally driving,
Yeah,
and some
right.
racing.
Where do you do that?
Through the Adelaide Hills and at the Ben racetrack.
Sounds dangerous.
So no, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Could
Any
be dangerous,
any
touch
hairy
wood.
fines? Have you ever lost your license? Next.
Do I have to answer that?
That's where the team comes in
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's right. Actually, no, I haven't lost my licence in the last 20 years.
Yeah, wow.
So when I was younger, I had a
Yeah.
few times. So.
Okay, yeah.
But we won't go there.
Leadfoot.
Yeah.
Peter, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for taking the time to
Oh, you're
share
welcome.
your insights. Thank you.
Thank you,
All the
Bianca.
best.